So Never Going Back is I've seen a few indie films like this before, which are kind of like a female buddy picture, where it's kind of like like a Dude Where's My Car type, but not quite as crazy as Dude Where's My Car, which is kind of a lowbrow, kind of raunchy One Wild Day type of comedy, in which you have like these two girls who they work as waitresses and they can barely afford rent. They're teenage runaways, or I don't know if you call them runaways, kind of teenage dropouts. They live with some roommates. They can barely afford rent. They can barely afford utilities. But they've squandered away. They've planned out just enough money so that they can plan a trip to the beach when they live in southern Texas. And so they plan this out, but the thing is, everything seems to go wrong that day. But mostly because of the people they associate with and the accidents that they have. Like they have some very questionable roommates who have a little bit of loose morals. They want to prefer like the gangster life, stuff like that. They want to sell drugs. They want to steal stuff. And as a result, it causes chaos for these two girls who they just want to go on vacation, but they can't because their hours have shifted. Their water gets shut off. They can't clean their uniforms. Everything just seems to be going wrong for them. But they end up making a lot of mistakes along the way that kind of work out terribly for them. Like at one point they decide like, oh, we don't have water at our place. We got to go wash our clothes over at our friend's house, who's having a major party. So if your friend's having a major party and they deal in drugs and stuff like that, might not be the best idea to chow down on the brownies, which they showed in the trailer there, where they get stoned out of their gourd there and end up showing up to work like that. So it's and it goes about like it seems like and it's from like A24, so like the consensus might be that well, A24, they'll find something deeper here, and we maybe it's because we've been spoiled on films like American Honey and the Florida Project, where we've seen these films about lesser people who are living in squalor, where we get to see like a little bit more of their frustration here. Here it's just kind of more of like kind of a wild comedy, kind of like a wild, down and dirty comedy here. And most of it just kind of goes for like the lowbrow jokes. It goes for really lowbrow here at times. Like at one point, I'm not even kidding, that there's a scene where one of them is pooping into a bucket while the other is puking on a store manager. The thing is, like, it tries to portray these girls as trying to be like these kind of like nasty rebels. But the thing I was kind of okay with that for like the first act of the film, but when we get to the third act, it tries to kind of justify some of that. Like at one point, they have a really like nasty argument with an old guy in a grocery store. Like they tell him to F off, they give him the finger, they call him a sex pervert and a child molester for commenting on the way they dress. And at first you think it's like, oh, it's just them lashing out at the world, and I was hoping that maybe they'd lash out more, and then finally just kind of have this kind of like depressing like contentment towards the end. But I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to write it in my head there. But it tries to wrap stuff up too convenient. Like that guy they insult in the store, it turns out, well, he is a sex pervert because I don't know, maybe they got a sixth sense there. They can tell it. So I guess the enjoyment of the film depends on like how much you're willing to go along with these girls in their kind of like Dumb and Dumber-esque schemes where they're mostly just, well, I guess kind of like Dumb and Dumber if they were just shouting like fuck you the whole time at everybody. And it depends your enjoyment on that. It also depends like how much you're willing to put up with their antics, which involves them getting too stoned and seeing stuff in slow motion. At one point they try to they try to bargain for like sandwiches and money at one point from this fast food employee, where they have to let him feel their boobs and stuff like that. It gets into some kind of weird territory there. It does have, I will say this though, the two actresses here, they're pretty damn good. I think they got a lot of charisma. They're fairly early in their careers. I could see them going pretty far with it, with a really good comedy. The thing is, I don't really think this is that good a comedy though. I look forward to seeing what they do next. But I just, it all depends like where you place your morals here. If you're really with these girls, to have them say like, look, yeah, fuck the world, like everything's gone terrible for them, they deserve it. If you can be on that level, then I think it's actually pretty funny at times. But most of the time, it kind of goes for like some easy laughs, especially in areas where they could go for like a much better laugh, because it's mostly just poop and puke humor. with a little bit of like some drug humor and sex humor thrown in there. Because like I said, that old guy that they insult in the grocery store, he's a sex pervert, but not just any sex pervert, like a weird ass sex pervert who puts like condiments and stuff all over him, just and takes weird dick pics and stuff like that. Just gross stuff like that, to justify, you know, kind of how right the girls are. And it's almost like I don't know if they do need to be justified in this. It's just kind of more like just funny stuff that happens rather than, you know, making anything more out of it. So I know that, you know, there were a lot of you know, like a lot of praising in the trailer for this. I know it's definitely going to have an audience. I couldn't push a lot of my I just couldn't push aside the fact that a lot of that these girls make so many mistakes and they're just angry and bitter the whole time that, I mean, if we were in a different light, I might like a little bit more. But it honestly just came off just kind of more like a nasty lowbrow comedy. Because if you make it's very much kind of erring on the side of kind of like dark humor, and if you make dark humor to the point where it's like you really don't like the characters that much, you're not as much rooting for them. You're not as much, and I wanted to root for them because they're both likable actresses. So what you gonna do? I will say this though, in terms, I've seen these other kind of female duo buddy pictures which try to portray them as, you know, like crazy and dumb girls who do dumb and sexual and gross out stuff. I've seen a ton of these films before, and this is not the worst one. Not even close. I've seen like ridiculously bad films in this genre, and Never Going Back is just kind of it's kind of middle of the road. It's kind of middle of the road. I'd say if you're looking for if you're looking for kind of, you know, a traditional kind of like gross out, you know, One Wild Day type comedy, and you want to see some very fine actresses in the role, I think you'll get that here. But if you're seeking, you know, a comedy that says a little bit more, which it seems like, I don't know, I guess maybe it's because it's A24, maybe it's because there's some pretty damn good cinematography here at times. I felt there should be more here. So for Never Going Back, 2 out of 5 stars.